There are people in our lives who are always there. So constant, so quiet, that we stop seeing them. We walk past them every day. We nod, maybe smile, and move on. We never stop to ask why they do what they do. And then one day, they are gone. And only then do we realize what they meant. Today's story is about an old man at a gate. A man who asked for nothing, gave everything, and left behind a lesson that an entire village would carry for the rest of their lives. Listen carefully, because you may have already walked past someone like him today. In a small, quiet village nestled between two green hills, there was a stone gate at the entrance of the road. It was old, older than most of the houses in the village. Moss grew along its edges. Ivy climbed its sides. It had stood there so long that no one thought about it anymore. But every morning, without fail, an old man named Samuel sat beside that gate. He arrived before sunrise. He brought with him a small wooden stool, a cup of tea wrapped in a cloth to keep it warm, and nothing else. He sat, and he waited. And when the first person of the morning passed through the gate, a farmer, a schoolchild, a woman carrying bread to the market, Samuel looked up and smiled. "Good morning," he would say. "I hope the day is kind to you." That was all. No sermon. No request. Just those words, and that smile. At first, the villagers thought little of it. An old man with time on his hands. Lonely, perhaps. Harmless, certainly. Some nodded back. Some waved without looking. Children sometimes stopped to talk to him because children always sense something adults have learned to ignore. But as the months passed, people began to notice something they couldn't quite explain. The farmer who passed through Samuel's gate in the morning found himself working with a lighter spirit. The schoolchildren who heard his greeting arrived at class a little more ready to learn. The woman who sold bread in the market said she didn't know why, but on the morning she passed the old man, she sold out faster than usual. No one connected it, not openly. But Samuel had become something the village didn't have a word for. One morning, a young man named Isaac stopped at the gate. He had been having a difficult season. His crops were poor, his debts were growing, and his confidence had quietly been wearing away. He had walked past Samuel 100 times without stopping. That morning, something made him pause. "Old man," Isaac said, "why do you do this? Every morning, without fail." "Why?" Samuel looked up at him. His eyes were gentle, the kind of eyes that have seen a great deal and chosen kindness anyway. "When I was a young man," Samuel said slowly, "I was angry at the world. I believed life had been unfair to me. I went about my days with a closed face and a heavy heart." He paused, and took a slow sip of his tea. "One morning, a stranger passing through this very gate smiled at me. Just smiled. And said, 'I hope the day is kind to you.'" Isaac waited. "I don't know who that man was," Samuel continued. "I never saw him again. But something in me shifted that morning. The world felt a little less against me. I worked harder that day. I spoke more gently to my wife. I slept better that night." He looked at the gate, then back at Isaac. "I have spent a long time thinking about what that one moment cost him. Nothing. And what it gave me. Everything." Isaac stood there for a long time after Samuel finished speaking. Then he nodded, quietly, and walked through the gate. That evening, he was kinder to his children. He spoke to his neighbor about the debt, something he had been too ashamed to do for months. And the neighbor helped him. Life, sometimes, begins with a single open door. 3 weeks later, Samuel did not come to the gate. The first morning, people assumed he was unwell. The second morning, they began to ask around. By the third morning, word had spread through the village: Samuel had passed away quietly in his sleep. He had no family left. He had lived alone at the edge of the village for many years. The villagers gathered at the gate that evening. Some brought flowers. Some brought candles. Isaac stood there the longest. It was only then, standing together at the old stone gate, that people began to share what they had never said aloud. The farmer spoke of how he had always felt steadier on the morning Samuel was there. A schoolteacher said she had noticed the children arrived calmer, more open. An elderly woman said that on the hardest morning of her life, the morning after she lost her husband, Samuel had looked at her and said, "I hope the day is kind to you." And somehow, it had been. One man who had never once stopped to speak to Samuel wept quietly and could not say why. They placed a small plaque beside the gate. It read simply, "He greeted the world every morning. And the world was better for it." We often wait for grand gestures. We believe that to make a difference, we must do something large. Something visible. Something people will remember. But Samuel taught a village, without ever meaning to teach anyone anything, that the smallest act of genuine kindness carries a weight we cannot measure. A smile costs nothing. A kind word takes 4 seconds. And you will never know how far it travels after it leaves you. There is someone in your life who is sitting quietly at a gate. Showing up every day. Asking for nothing. Giving something you may not yet have a name for. Look up. See them. While there is still time. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs it today. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll be back with another story that might change the way you see the world. Till then, be patient, be thankful, and keep moving forward.